morning, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about bad therapy. Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up by Abigail Schreier. I came across her when she was interviewed on Joe Rogan a few months ago, so I wanted to get the book. Actually, it's been like about a year ago, actually. And I finally read the book, and it is really, really good. So in this book, how she talks about how talk therapy can make people ruminate is actually bad, how all this focus on our emotions and social emotional learning is actually bad for children and is one of the reasons that children are not eager to grow up and are late to thrive, and that gentle parenting can encourage emotional turbulence, like all this helicopter parenting. So, there is a lot to this book, and we're going to get into it right now. Okay? So, people, I think, were very well-meaning to focus on emotions because our emotions are important. They're part of who we are. But this excessive focusing on emotions is actually very harmful to people. All right, so this is not like a quick summary. I'm really going to go into this book because I just thought it was so great. So these videos on this book are going to be more like longer type of videos, okay? So she starts out in the introduction by talking about how she and her brother were spanked. Their feelings were seldom consulted. You know, nobody asked them where they wanted to go to school or what kind of clothes they wanted to wear or what they wanted for dinner. And kids were just sent outside to play all day, just be home by dark. But as millions of women and men my age entered adulthood, we commenced therapy. We explored our childhoods and learned to see our parents as emotionally stunted. Emotionally stunted parents expected too much, listened too little, and failed to discover their kids' hidden pain. Emotionally stunted parents inflicted emotional injury. So we were told, right? So then as we went on to have kids of our own, my generation or her generation, she goes on to say, we vowed that our child rearing would reflect a greater psychological awareness. We resolved to listen better, inquire more, monitor our kids' moods, accommodate their opinions when making a family decision, and whenever possible, anticipates our kids' distress. We would cherish our relationship with our kids, tear down the barrier of authority past generations had erected between parent and child, and instead see our children as teammates, mentees, and buddies. More than anything, we wanted to raise happy kids. We looked to the wellness experts for help. We devoured their best-selling parenting books, which established the methods by which we would educate, correct, and even speak to our own children. Now I'm going to take a break from reading her introduction and tell you that I have made parenting videos. If you go in the playlist, go to parenting videos, and those parenting videos I stand by. Those are the way to raise kids and with freedom and responsibility. But what she's talking about is more of a different parenting style, not the one that I describe in those parenting books. Just to be clear. Because she's a little bit younger than I am. She's probably, here's her picture. She's probably, I would say, in her 30s or 40s. So when I was raising my kids, some of this was starting to happen, but really got going more. The books about helicopter parents really started coming out more in the early 2000s, like about a decade after I was really done with, with most of my child rearing. So I definitely see this, but I was not doing this. I just want to be clear, because just reading this, I'm already going like, this is no good. But anyway, let's continue. Even though I did read a lot of parenting books. Okay, so we read all their books, and guided by these experts in these books, we adopted a therapeutic approach to parenting. We learned to offer our kids the reasons behind every rule and request. We never, ever spanked. We perfected the timeout and provided thorough explanation for any punishment, which we then rebranded as a consequence to remove any associated shame and make us feel less authoritarian. Successful parenting became a function with a single coefficient: our kids' happiness at any given instant. An ideal childhood meant no pain, no discomfort, no fights, no failure, and absolutely no hint of trauma. But the more closely we tracked our kids' feelings, the more difficult it became for us to ride out their momentary displeasure. The more closely we examined our kids, the more glaring their deviations from an endless array of benchmarks: academic, speech, social, and emotional. Each now felt like a catastrophe. We rushed our kids back to the mental health professionals who had guided our parenting, this time for testing, diagnosis, counseling, and medication. We needed our kids and everyone around them to know our kids weren't shy. They had social anxiety disorder, or social phobia. They weren't poorly behaved. They had oppositional defiant disorder. They weren't disruptive students. They had ADHD. It wasn't our fault, and it wasn't theirs. We would attack and finally eliminate the stigma surrounding these diagnoses. Rates at which our children received them soared. Now, the book she wrote before this was called Irreversible Damage, and that's about the transgender industry. So I'm going to leave this for now as the introduction. I will make more videos on this book. There will be a lot of videos, because I think this is a very important topic, and that coddling, excessive focusing on our feelings, coddling, have been very harmful to children, and I think that explains a big reason why the younger generation is late to thrive. I think that explains why half of men under 30 haven't had sex in the past year. They don't want to ask women out. They're afraid of rejection. They might go to a bar, but they don't know how to talk to women because they've grown up on their phones. The other factor is that they have grown up using their phones so much that they never learned how to talk to people, how to look someone in the eye and shake their hand, how to talk to a girl, how to ask a girl out. If they're always on their phones and they're always coddled and they don't have to face the consequences of their actions, if the school system is so focused on their feelings and giving them diagnoses and trying to medicate them, I think that these are two big factors that have led to the decline in growing up with the younger generation, and parents making it seem like parenting is this awful thing, because parents are so stressed out trying to make everything great and easy for their kids, and the kids are going, why would I want to be a parent? You look miserable. So the focus on feelings, the helicopter parenting, and the phones, I think, are the main reasons that the younger generation is having trouble thriving. Because if you're coddled, you never have to learn to stand on your own feet, because you're told you can't. They are raising helpless kids. Of course, not everyone, and as we will see as we go through this book, when kids actually go through hardship, they actually become a lot more resilient. So I will be back with another video soon, but I hope you guys are having a great Saturday.